Good afternoon, everybody. It's the pollinator. I'm usually not up at this time of day, but I had one of those sleepless nights fretting about something, and which usually happens when I don't know, when I've got a lot on my mind or something very heavy on my mind. But I just wanted to make this video because the title of the video is called Being Outed, or disclosing your transgender status. And I've got a lot of videos. I think I'm up to 52 speaking videos, so there's a lot of them. And if you like the content that I provide, make sure to subscribe, and when you do, hit the bell button so that you'll get notifications when I upload new videos. So, hey, I told everybody I was going to get this. I think I've worn it before in a video, but I'm not sure. But I want to talk about an incident that happened to me a few months ago. Everybody knows, well, on Facebook they know that one of my favorite digs to eat is the Waffle House. And I had picked a guy up that I hang around with every once in a while. He's a cisgender white man who loves to talk about the fact that he's got some Indian in him, but to look at him, no, he don't. And he's hairy as a bear. But what essentially happened was, during the earlier parts of my transition in 2016, I started tea in 2015, but I didn't start moving around the area that I live in until 2016. And I go to about, well, not anymore, but I go to about 6 different Waffle Houses. And let me tell you what led me to this, which is really strange. I was led to a article on the internet that I got there from seeing a post on Tim Wise's page. So I went to the article and I was reading, and then I saw off to the side a no, that's not what happened. Okay, I saw a notification, and I had completely forgotten about that particular website, and it was a notification for me, so apparently I'd made comments in that website before. So I clicked on it, and I saw an older article that I had responded to sometime in 2017 about something about being transgender isn't being brave. So I was reading through that article again, and then I saw a link to a YouTube video by a transgender woman, and I'm not going to mention her name because she's got well than enough followers and subscribers than she needs. But she was a white transgender woman, and she began to talk about an experiences that she's had of being outed. Now, I gotta mention this because it always seems that words that black people come up with end up in the hands of Caucasian people, and they change the meaning of the word. Anyway, she talked about a word called being clocked. Now, back in my day, meaning clocked meant you got clocked, okay? You got knocked out or you got punched, but that's not what this very popular trans woman meant by clocked. And what she meant by that was people who were trying to figure her out. whether she was cisgender, transgender, basically whether she was transgender, and that there's this feeling that you get when people are looking you over, trying to figure out what gender that you are. And, you know, this happens to me. She was really, really upset because some of the stuff that happened to her was absolutely bizarre in nightclubs. I don't go to nightclubs, so when that happens to me, I'm usually out and about, and usually at a Waffle House. And the only people who I want to change the word from clock, because that's not what clock meant to me back in the day, or even, you know, recent days. But I'm trying to think of a word like TDAR, like radar, trans radar, Trandar. I don't know. I was trying to make up some words to, you know, oftentimes in the lesbian community, what do we call that? We call that people having a gaydar, where they think they can determine your sexuality based on a variety of things. But or gaydar means, you know, when you look at somebody, you can tell they're gay, or you look at somebody, you can tell they're lesbian. And usually that only happens to studs, lesbian studs, and gay men who are rather effeminate. People's gaydar goes up, trying to figure out who they are. So back to the story. So in the earlier parts of my transition, I was very excited about my transition, and I've never been one to be stealth about who I am. I mean, even when I thought I was a lesbian and I came out, I was out. Okay, I didn't care who knew, and it wasn't like I ran around telling people, you know, hi, my name is so and so, and I'm a lesbian. I didn't do it that way, just like this transgender woman said. But there are occasions where I do disclose that I'm transgender, and a lot of times I don't. So I was really excited in the beginning, and at one of the restaurants that I frequented, I told the cook and some of the waitresses in there that I was transgender. And I didn't think anything of it. You know, they asked the usual questions. Some of them I answered, some of them I didn't. And, you know, then I kept it moving. Something happened at that restaurant where I decided not to go to that particular restaurant anymore at the beginning of 2017. So back to a couple months ago, I picked that same guy up and took him to a different Waffle House down the street. And we were sitting in there, and one of the cooks from the restaurant that I stopped going to recognized me. And, you know, he said, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, you know, a year, almost a year, maybe more than that, because I don't really remember the last time I saw him. But he recognized me, and he said, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting at the table eating with, or preparing to eat with my buddy. And so, or you know what? He caught me outside before I went inside, I think. And he was standing in front of his car, and he had this, what do they call them, tie wrap, or not a tie wrap. You know, one of those things that you wrap around items that you put on a bicycle. Anyway, he had one of those holding up his bumper. So I was making fun of his bumper and said, man, what's up with that? You know, that looks ghetto as hell that you got this thing holding up your bumper. And he said, well, that's what you get for letting people borrow your car. I said, oh, somebody crashed your car? And he said, yeah. So we had a, pretty lame conversation. And then he said, wow, I guess you've transitioned already. And I said, okay. I didn't confirm or deny whether I was finished with the process, which I am not. It was none of his business. But I went ahead and said, yeah, I did. And he said, I'm shocked. At first I didn't recognize you, and then I realized that it was you. So he got in his car and left, and I went in the restaurant. I'm sitting down there with my friend, and one of the waitresses came up to me, came to the table, and I don't think she was standing right in front of my table, but she was being very loud and said, one of the cooks said that you were a female. I was like, okay. And she says, well, were you? And I said, that's none of your business, whether I was or I wasn't. And if I was, I wouldn't tell you. And I was getting annoyed, and because she was being really inappropriate, and she was being really loud, and there were a lot of customers in there. And the first thing I thought was, ooh, what if somebody in here didn't like what they were hearing and approached me outside or followed me home or whatever. There is a safety issue in being outed in public. But I had long forgotten about this. Apparently that cook was gossiping about me to the ladies in that restaurant. And so I went on and and I started getting loud, and I started getting upset. And I told her, you know what, I could be a gay man for all you know. And is that an appropriate thing to be asking somebody? And she had nerve to say, you still didn't answer the question. And I said, I don't have to answer the question. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not going to answer that question. It's none of your business. So she walked away. So right before the food got delivered, another waitress came up to me. And she said, can I ask you something? And I knew immediately what was happening there. And so I said, it depends. Because if you getting ready to come over here and ask me what that other waitress asked me, I'll ask her what I told her. And she said, well, the people here and one of the cooks said that you used to be a female, or you was a female, or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's none of your business. I am a customer. Do you usually gossip about customers? Because I don't have to come to this restaurant. And my buddy has seen me go off on Waffle House waitresses before. So he was like, uh-oh. And he got up and ran outside because he thought I was going to just lay into this lady. But I didn't. I kept my cool, and I just, I just said, this is highly inappropriate conversation you're having with me out loud in this restaurant. So she went away, and then they delivered our food, and my buddy came back in. He saw that I didn't fly over the counter and bitch slap her or throttle her or whatever. So he came back in, and we ate, and so I was paying the tab, and he got up and went back outside, and when I went up to pay the bill, one of them said, well, see you next time. And I said, maybe. And she looked at me like, what? People are so ignorant that they don't realize the situation they put people in with that kind of nonsense. And it wasn't like they were being curious. They were being more or less accusatory and wanting me to out myself in front of everybody who was at the counter, everybody who was behind me, everybody who was to the left of me. Everybody heard that conversation because they were being really loud. So when I left and went outside and was talking to my buddy, I said, let me tell you why that was not the right thing to do. Basically because a lot of people heard it, and you never know who heard that, who could cause harm. Like I said, somebody could have heard that and been really transphobic, hateful transphobic, and decided to get in their car at the same time and follow me somewhere, or catch me outside that building and kick my ass. I mean, you never know what people are thinking, and you never know what can happen. And the earlier parts of my transition, I did not know that it was not okay to out people in public, because I didn't mind outing myself, but I didn't know it was going to come back to haunt me 2 years later. Oh my God. So I guess I'm making this video. I'm not stealth, and I never will be stealth, but I am discreet. And I'm kind of sorry right now that I wasn't more discreet in the beginning, but I was so excited to be my authentic self, and I am the kind of person and the kind of guy that doesn't really give a shit what people think. But I never thought that it would come back to haunt me like that. But it brings me to this subject of occasionally being uncomfortable with people looking you over, especially little kids. I don't know how they pick up on something, but they do, and they stare at me. And I'm just, they'll turn all the way around their seat to stare at me, or they'll be sitting facing me and be staring, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. They're trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. But they're so young, and I'm just amazed that they have any kind of radar at all. It's like, oh my God. And you can tell by the way they're looking that, the puzzled look on their face, and them continuing to stare. And it causes a little discomfort, not much for me. For the transgender woman that I saw in a YouTube video, it drove her nuts because she was out there all the time, and in clubs a lot, and running into a lot of men who did some really foul things to her in those clubs. She's very popular, and she got outed in front of a whole bunch of people in that club. And then a guy that she was dancing with, even though she was outed, a guy that she was dancing with tried to grab her coochie twice on the dance floor, and she turned around and threw a drink on him. Then she went back to her hotel room and cried about it. I haven't had anything happen that traumatic or that emotion provoking type of scenario, but you don't have to be, if you're not stealth, just be discreet about who you tell, when you tell, especially in the beginning. Some of you are going to have a very, your confidence is going to grow, and and if you're not used to being stealth, you're probably going to tell a lot of people you shouldn't be telling that you're transgender, because it will come back. And then check it out. How long is this? There's another, I can't see that. There's another restaurant, another Waffle House that I go to in a different location. I circle around this area going to them. I don't go to the same one twice in a row. So there's another restaurant, but those people in there are really cool, and I have a lot of fun with them. Um, they shouldn't be doing the things that they do at their job, but one day I was in there, and I think I told this story in another video where this one of the waitresses let me know that all of them were discussing whether I had bottom surgery or not. But I made her turn red because of the way that I handled that. Sometimes I'm humorous about it, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes it annoys me. Um, and and I'm working that out in therapy about being outed or being misgendered or being dead named by my family. I'm working that out to where it doesn't bother me as much because, but the ignorant ones out there, it's hard to educate people in an environment like that because, first of all of those employees weren't sitting there together so that I could tell them what time it was. So I just told the one, which I'm sure it got back to the others. But, you know, at times they have too much time on their hands because there's not a lot of customers in the restaurant, so they sit around and talk about customers. And not only do they talk about customers, they talk about the other employees when the other employees aren't there. And I get to hear all the drama going on in these restaurants. And I finally figured out why Waffle House employees are so friendly. Because everyone I go to, for the most part, they're super friendly people, and that's why I go there a lot, because I like the service. The food can even suck, but if I have a good time with the employees, I'm cool. And the reason why, and this was told by somebody that is dear to me, that they probably do it to get the tips because they get paid less than minimum wage. So if they're not super nice to customers, they're not going to get big tips. That's fine with me. I don't care. But anyway, I started out talking about, disclosing, not disclosing, outing yourself, telling other people that you're transgender, and just be careful. That's all I got to say is be discreet. Realize that that cisgender heterosexual people may not understand what a transgender person is, and I did not frequent that place enough to educate anybody about it. So they heard that and took off with it enough to be, I don't know exactly what they were talking about, but it was enough to spread to another Waffle House. Because they kind of hang out, especially because those two are in close proximity. They're on the same street. They just talk about customers. So that's really all. That's really, I get clocked, like that woman said. I don't get punched in the face, but whatever word I'm going to come up with to replace clock, because I don't like how white people hijack our words and use them. And this girl was young. She's in her 20s. She probably doesn't even know that black people were the first ones to use that word, clocked. So I'm gonna make up a word that's cool. That's not that one. And it's so that's it for this video. I'm super freaking tired. I have to go see the dentist shortly, and but I wanted to just jump in here. I just got a new haircut. You see my hair is starting to thin right here. That's from testosterone, or maybe it's from stress. I don't know. I've had a very stressful year. 2017 was pretty stressful, and 2018 is starting out stressful. So, I'm trying to stay blessed and lower my stress level. But everybody have a happy Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow. Um, and have a great rest of the week. Oh, I'm going to go see Black Panthers on Thursday. Heard a lot of stuff about it. And I'm going out with a group of guys that from a support group that I go to in the area. And we're going to get together and go see Black Panthers together. So have a good one, everybody. Pollinator out. Peace.